An online community of some very concerned people has proven, against the odds, that indeed no man is an island. Contributor Nicholas Thompson, who's just become the new CEO of The Atlantic, has the tale of the hiker.
It's believed he started walking the Appalachian Trail sometime around April of 2017. From a state park in New York, he hiked south and about 1,000 miles, and 10 months later, crossed into Florida.
I saw a man walking on the side of the road. The thing that stood out to me first was his beard, also his trekking poles. His trekking poles let me know that he was a hiker.
Kelly Fairbanks was a so-called trail angel, offering help to weary hikers.
Why did he make an impression on you?
He just had a really kind aura about him.
Yeah.
He was joking and laughing with me, had a beautiful smile, and he had beautiful eyes.
Sounds like you thought he was kind of handsome?
Yeah, most of the women do.
Fairbanks took a few pictures of him. So did other hikers. Some caught him on video.
Did you ask him his name?
He introduced himself to me as Mostly Harmless.
Mostly Harmless. That's what he called himself when he was on the trail and off the grid.
He said, "I'm not using a cell phone." And I said, "What do you mean you're not using a cell phone?" And he said, sometimes people just want to disconnect.
6 months after that, in southern Florida, hikers made a terrible discovery.
Call your county 911. What is the address of your emergency?
They were calling from the Big Cypress National Preserve in Florida's Alligator Alley.
We just found a dead body.
Okay. Are you on the trail?
Yeah, I'm on the trail, and then the dead body is at the Camp Noble site.
The body was curled up in a yellow tent.
We had a white male. We had no electronics, no identification, no wallet, no personal information. There was nothing there that gave us a hint at the time.
David Herm is a detective with the Collier County, Florida Sheriff's Office.
We just typically don't see people go to that lengths. Most people are not comfortable being completely off the grid like that.
The Sheriff's Department put out a sketch.
So you're looking at Facebook at work. You open up a group that you're part of, and you see a picture of this person you recognize.
Yes.
How do you react?
Freaked out a little bit.
Kelly Fairbanks was sure it was Mostly Harmless, but his real name remained a mystery. Sheriff's detectives searched databases using his face and fingerprints. Nothing. The autopsy couldn't even pinpoint a cause of death. But over the next 2 years, the case slowly gathered attention.
I do a lot of hiking and things like that, and that's part of the agreement, is we all know that we look out for each other. You don't leave someone behind.
Natasha Teasley manages a canoe and kayak company in North Carolina. Surfing online, she became fascinated by the case of Mostly Harmless. She helped form a Facebook group to try to identify him, named for an alias he sometimes used, Ben Billamy. The group grew to more than 6,000 members.
My phone stays blown up all the time with people sending me messages of like, could it be this person or could it be that person?
Teasley went through public records, including a government website called nameless, a clearinghouse for missing and unidentified persons cases across the country. According to nameless, 4,400 unidentified bodies are recovered each year.
You have looked at the face of every white man between the age of 25 and 60 who's listed as missing in the entire United States?
I have. And there are a lot of them. There are a lot of missing people in our country. I was not aware of how many missing people there are in our country.
The search didn't pan out, but a new high-tech tool held out hope.
We're the only lab in the United States that does this kind of advanced forensic testing in-house.
David Middleman is the founder of Othram, just outside Houston. Testing there would cost $5,000, money not in the Collier County Sheriff's Office budget. Enter the online sleuths.
There was a dedicated group of folks that really wanted to see this case move forward. And so being that funding was the only bottleneck, and when we encountered that situation, we opened it up for crowdfunding. In this particular case, there was so much pent-up interest in the case that we crowdfunded it with the crowd in the truest sense of the word in about, I think, like 8 days. It was really quick.
Othram received some of Mostly Harmless's DNA from the Sheriff's Department and went to work.
What we do is we capture tens of thousands of markers to hundreds of thousands of markers, and we do more of a relationship search instead of an exact match. Some people call it a genealogical search.
The results showed that Mostly Harmless was probably from Assumption Parish in Louisiana. Articles appeared online. One that I wrote for Wired was read by 1.5 million people. Still, months went by with no positive ID. But then Randall Godsoe from Louisiana saw a post.
And as soon as I saw the pictures, I knew immediately, it's like, oh, that's Vance.
It was his college roommate.
Tingle ran down my spine.
2.5 years after his body was found, the hiker had a name.
Today we know that Mostly Harmless was a man by the name of Vance Rodriguez.
The thousands of people following the case soon learned that Vance Rodriguez was complicated. He indeed grew up in Louisiana, and he moved to New York in his 30s. He was a brilliant computer programmer whose notebooks, found in the tent where he died, were filled with computer code. Vance Rodriguez was estranged from his family, had troubled, even abusive romantic relationships, and he'd sometimes disappear on his friends. Still, why had it taken so long to identify him? Partly because he had erased his tracks, and partly because no one was looking for him. It wasn't entirely the answer that the people who'd been working on his case wanted to hear.
All the people who met him on the trail describe him as friendly, amiable, easy to talk to, whereas all the other people who knew him in real life describe him as a little distant, a little bit of a loner. What's the difference? How did that happen?
It's not really a difference. It's a difference in when you were talking to him. When he was in a good mood, he was very easy to talk to. He was very friendly, but he would also turn off and be in a bad mood. And the trail people never saw that, because if he decided he wasn't going to talk to anyone, he literally just would not talk to anyone. And so no one would know, no one would remember him, I'm sure.
To me, like, him being imperfect was always a possibility. We're all humans and we all have really complicated pasts, you know? I don't think it changes the value of what we did as a community, you know? Like, we came together out of human kindness.
And so Natasha Teasley started the Kindness Project. The idea is to harness the online energy that helped identify Vance Rodriguez and to use it to identify the thousands of others who remain missing and unidentified. It's a postscript to the strange story of Mostly Harmless, an effort to give names to the nameless.
My hope is that it doesn't end here, that every single person who was impacted by this story in some way will at least carry away with the knowledge of, like, care about it, care about who these people are, and that they have friends and family. They do. Even if you've given up that they have friends and family, they have friends and family.